Welcome into the weekly Steelers Talk mailbag. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and I love doing this segment every single week with you guys because we film them during the live shows on Thursdays, and you guys just put your questions in that you want answers to. And instead of me kind of thinking about what you guys want to hear, you guys just tell me specifically which topics you want me to talk about, and I can deliver some answers. And I love having this two-way conversation with Steelers Nation every single week. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are the most interactive Steelers community of Steelers fans anywhere on YouTube. We have daily community posts and polls with poll questions for you guys to give your take on all the latest happenings surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. We also go live every single Monday and Thursday during the offseason. We have our Madden streams that are super fun that are starting next week, Monday, by the way. So if you guys want to join the most interactive Steelers community of Yinzers that bleed black and gold, make sure you click that subscribe button right now and join our family. So we'll start here with Nick, who says, I ran into Broderick Jones at a grocery store in the Atlanta area yesterday. He was super friendly, definitely rooting for him at left tackle this year. And yeah, man, I'm certainly rooting for Broderick as well, and I think that he's got a better chance to develop into like a legitimately good starter in this league than people give him credit for. He has said time and time again that he just wasn't comfortable playing at right tackle after playing at left tackle his entire life before coming to the Steelers. So, he was inarguably one of the worst starting offensive tackles in football when playing on the right side. No one's disputing that. But now that he's going back over to the spot where he's more comfortable, I think that there's a greater chance, it's definitely not a super high chance, but there is definitely a greater chance that he develops into the player that the Steelers were hoping they were getting when they drafted him and traded up for him in the 2022 NFL draft. So really rooting for the kid. Everything that I've heard is that he's a stand-up guy, a hard worker, all these different things. Stands up for his guys on the field, all that different stuff that you want to see from your starting left tackle. So hopefully he becomes one for the long haul here in Pittsburgh. Then we got a $5 super chat from Interstellar Reaper. It says, why didn't we get the Devonte Smith and Aaron Rodgers package deal again? Davante Adams. So the thing about Adams is I think that he just wanted to go to LA, and I think he wanted to partner up with Sean McVay. And I think that the original plan for Rodgers and Davante was to go play for Sean McVay in LA together. But once it became clear that Stafford was coming back and they weren't trading him to the Giants or Raiders, Davante was still like, I still want to go play for McVay. And he signed on there, and I think that he kind of got wind that Rodgers wasn't looking to sign anywhere for a while, and he didn't want to wait for Rodgers. So would it have been awesome to have Davante Adams here in Pittsburgh? Yeah, but honestly, like DK Metcalf is younger and arguably better than Davante Adams is right now. So the fact that they traded for him instead of getting Davante Adams in free agency, your wide receiver situation might be better now than if they would have gotten Adams. Then we got one from Culver's Lover. Says, why did you do your Steelers record prediction assuming Aaron Rodgers was going to sign with the Steelers? Isn't that a bit presumptive? Well, I mean, I kind of based it just based on what's expected around the league. You listen to all the top reporters, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, Tom Pelissero. Everybody is expecting Aaron Rodgers to sign with the Steelers at some point this offseason. And, you look at the betting markets. I think Pauly Market has like the 75% odds on Rodgers signing with the Steelers and like a 13% chance he retires, like heavy betting favorite that he's going to choose Steelers versus retirement. And then you look at the betting markets for week one starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Rodgers is blowing away every other option. Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, Kirk Cousins. Aaron Rodgers is the clear favorite at this point. So if I'm going to be doing a record prediction, I'm going to base it based off the quarterback that's most likely to be under center. And right now, the betting markets are extremely clear on that. It is Aaron Rodgers, which is why I decided to do my record prediction, assuming he would be in Pittsburgh this year. Obviously, I'll change it if he retires, but in the meantime, I'm going to assume that he's going to be a Steeler this year. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. How many games do you think the Steelers will win this year? My record prediction, if you missed our record prediction video earlier in the week, was 10-7 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. YouTube is going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Then we got one from Meanie. He says, as this offseason has been an unorthodox one based on how the Steelers go about doing business, should Tomlin get fired and the Steelers go all in for a top-notch QB in the draft? Obviously, it depends on how the season goes, Meanie. If the season sucks and they're not making the playoffs and Rodgers is a complete disaster or whatever, yeah, absolutely. I think they will fire Mike Tomlin if they miss the playoffs this year, bar none. All right, it's just been too long with no playoff success for this team to not make the playoffs at this point. And I think if that happens, then they will end up firing him, hiring an offensive head coach, and then they will draft a new quarterback next year. I absolutely think that's on the table. But I also think it's on the table that Rodgers comes in. This defense is elite again. Rodgers gets this team playing to at least league average level on offense, which is something that this team has not been able to say in a long time. If you even put a league average offense combined with this defense, guys, they're going to win double-digit games once again this year, plain and simply. But if they go to the playoffs again, I think Tomlin's going to return. They'll probably still draft a quarterback in round 1 next year regardless. That certainly seems to be their plan. But it's definitely on the table that the Steelers could fire Mike Tomlin if he is unsuccessful during the 2025 season. Pizza's Goated coming in here, says, what's your favorite? Is this receivers in free agency? I think it's supposed to be receivers in free agency and in the trade market. Well, kind of my 5 that I would say are somewhat realistic that I would be really excited about, and guys that I think could provide something unique to this wide receiver room here in Pittsburgh. Romeo Doubs, or Dobbs out of Green Bay, is somebody that's played with Aaron Rodgers before. He's a big body at over 200 pounds. He has played in an offense there with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay that asks receivers to be active members in the run blocking scheme. He's got really good route running chops and foot speed. People have even compared his physical skill set to Davante Adams. Now, he's not Davante Adams. He's like a much lighter version of him in terms of the overall talent he brings to the table. But Rodgers was super complimentary of Dobbs, and that Packers wide receiver room is loaded right now. They might be looking to unload a receiver. Dobbs actually got suspended by the Packers last year because he was upset with the amount of targets he got in the offense last year. And now that they drafted a wide receiver in round 1 and Matthew Golden, it's definitely possible that they let go of Dobbs and pair him back up with Rodgers in Pittsburgh. He could be a really, really good number 2 wide receiver option, in my opinion, for this football team. Then we get Stryker with a 5. Appreciate you, Stryker. Says, if Rodgers does not sign, do you believe they should have Will Howard start to see how he develops and draft a QB next year if he doesn't pan out? I think the plan, if they don't get Rodgers, is still to get a veteran quarterback, all right? I think that they would want to trade for Kirk Cousins if they don't get Rodgers, and then kind of like their plan Z, kind of last case scenario, is they try and give a call to Ryan Tannehill, who played in this offense, had 33 touchdowns and 8 interceptions the last time he played in this offense with Arthur Smith. It's what got Arthur Smith that job in Atlanta, was Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry doing great things there in Tennessee. And, Tannehill is somewhat interested in playing if he finds the right team, right? Because he visited the Minnesota Vikings earlier this offseason, and something tells me he doesn't want to sign on to Minnesota until he knows for a fact Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. So, keep your eye on Ryan Tannehill if Rodgers ends up retiring and not going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really don't think there's a scenario where Will Howard starts the season as the starting quarterback. If it's Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, or Mason Rudolph starting off this season and those guys aren't getting the job done, then I could see the Steelers shifting to Will Howard at some point during the season if the playoffs just kind of aren't in play. But that's really the only scenario I see Howard getting any game time for the Steelers this year. Then we got one from Teager. Says, how many games do you think the Steelers would win with Kirk Cousins? What about Mason Rudolph and Will Howard? So my current projection with Aaron Rodgers is 10-7. Now, I think that the ceiling is higher with Rodgers, or I think it's more likely they could win 11 or 12 games with Rodgers than it would be with some of the other options. With Cousins, I would say, they'd hover around that 9-10 win mark again, depending on how good the defense is. With Mason Rudolph, I think that you're probably looking at, less wins. With Mike Tomlin, you can never count out a winning season, so maybe they get to 9 with Mason, but Probably looking at more like 6, 7, or 8 games with Mason, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. And then Will Howard, kind of the same thing. I don't think Howard's ready to play right away. I think he needs at least a year to cook in the oven. He doesn't have the best accuracy. Sometimes he doesn't have the biggest hands, so sometimes, the ball flight isn't fantastic. The mental processing needs to get a lot better than what it was at Ohio State. Howard's got a ways to go, in my opinion. So if Howard started every single game, I think the Steelers win less than 6 games. And, he's a 6th-round pick for a reason. So that's what I would say to that. So I definitely think Rodgers gives this team the best chance to win as many games as possible heading into 2025. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a real one, greatly appreciate all of you guys for stopping by today on the mailbag. We still got a couple more questions, but if you're enjoying yourself here on the show today, help out the channel today by clicking that thumbs up icon. Got another $2 super chat from Interstellar Reaper. What's up, my man? Says, should Jaylen Warren start over Kaleb Johnson? So listen, man, the current day NFL, unless you have like a true superstar running back, most teams have a committee. Most teams share reps. The Steelers have done this over the last several seasons with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, where the Steelers have even introduced Jaylen Warren at the start of home games as a starting player. All right, so really every team has 2 starting running backs. So it's not about starting Jaylen Warren over Kaleb Johnson. It's more about, all right, who's getting the first reps. And I think to start the season, Jaylen Warren will be the first guy out on the field. All right, and Caleb's going to have to earn his keep. But I think very early on in the season, Kaleb is going to show, you got to keep me on the field as much as possible, especially on early downs, because he's a big body. He's fantastic with the outside zone running scheme. He showed that at Iowa. He can make some big plays happen. I think once he really establishes himself early on in the season, probably by October, he's getting a majority of the early down snaps for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I would say Jaylen Warren to start, but Kaleb Johnson takes it over relatively early in the season. Heath Miles, my man, says, why do we want the drama of Aaron Rodgers? Because it gives you the best chance to win, plain and simply. I'm somebody that, if you're going to be trying to win now, get the quarterback that helps you win now the most. And I think Rodgers, even though he does come with drama, there's no argument from me on that. I also think he does bring leadership. I actually think that he is one of the more underrated leaders in all of football. When the Jets decided to move off of Rodgers, there was a number of really high, big name Jets players that were publicly upset that they moved on from him. Quinnen Williams, obviously Davante Adams, all right, other players. The only person that was really happy about it was Garrett Wilson, it sounded like. So, there's a bunch of people throughout Aaron's career that has lauded his ability as a leader. He's very no-nonsense. He keeps people accountable, something that Russell Wilson, in my opinion, never really did. So he might be the exact type of leader the Steelers are looking for. I'm not trying to say he doesn't come with drama, but he could also come with wins. And that is something where if the Steelers are trying to get Cam Hayward a ring before he retires in 2 years, you got to give your team the best shot to win. And you can make an argument that there was other quarterbacks out there that would have given the Steelers a better chance. Sam Darnold, maybe trade for Derek Carr or something like that. There weren't a ton of great options out there. Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford, maybe. But the Steelers clearly identified Rodgers from the beginning of this process as the guy that they wanted and the guy that they think can lead them to a double-digit win season yet again and a playoff victory, at least one, but hopefully multiple this season. So we'll see if that plan comes to fruition. Mike Tomlin is betting his career with the Pittsburgh Steelers on Rodgers at this point, and we'll see if it pans out. Good question, Heath. We got Christian Andujar coming in here. Says, I saw the NFL schedule for us. Which games or game are you most excited for this season? For me, I'm looking forward to the Bears and Jets. My uncle is a Bears fan, and I want to see Justin Fields get trashed. So I'm very excited for the Jets game because I think that TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Cam Hayward and all those guys are going to make Justin Fields' life a living hell. All right, Fields is somebody that likes to hold the ball for a long time, and the Steelers' pass rush is one that gets to you very quickly. So I don't think that's a recipe for success for the Jets' passing game. And also, if Rodgers is on the team, seeing him get some revenge against the Jets in MetLife Stadium in the season opener would just be absolute theater. But I'm also really excited for the season finale. At home versus the Ravens. If you have a chance to win the division in that game, at home versus the Ratbirds, the team that won the division last year, I think that would be an awesome opportunity for this football team and a chance for Aaron Rodgers to really have, his iconic win as a Steeler there in Week 18. Then we got one from 674 Gator. Says, who is the most underrated Steelers player on the roster right now? I'll give this person some. I don't know if he's the most underrated, but I definitely think he's underrated in general. Is Calvin Austin III? He's not an early down receiver that you put out there and you ask to run block or anything like that. He's 165 pounds, but he does a lot of things really, really well as a receiver, man. I think he's got super quick feet. He runs really, really crisp routes. He's the best route runner on the Steelers, really by far, in my opinion. He's a vertical threat because of his speed. He's dynamic with the ball in his hands in space. He's got somewhat reliable hands. His catch radius is super tiny, obviously, because of his tiny frame, but he made some tough catches for the Steelers last year. And I think that he's good both inside and outside. Because he's such a small receiver, people think he can only play in the slot, but I actually think he's better on the outside, where he's able to make guys miss and press with his quick feet and release package. And I think that he plays some of his best ball when he's on the outside. So I think that he's somebody that's underappreciated from this fan base. People talk about how this team only has DK Metcalf at receiver and that's it. I think that's unfair to Calvin Austin III, who I think really had a kind of a mini breakout season last year. And obviously, I think the Steelers should add another receiver. I'm not saying that they don't need to add another receiver to this group, but I do think Calvin Austin III has the skill set to be a part of the solution at that position here in Pittsburgh. So who's your guy? Let me know down there in the comments section. Who is the most underrated player on the Steelers roster right now? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. I gave a little love to Calvin Austin III today, but let me know somebody else down there in the comments section. Really good questions this week, guys. Thank you so much to all the people that submitted questions this week. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more Steelers content coming your way with yet another week of Steelers coverage right here on Steelers Talk.